Why do most coaches get stuck at 10K a month, even if they're great at what they do? In today's episode, I'm going to break down the exact pitfalls, mistakes, and things that hold great coaches back from being phenomenally successful. I've worked with nearly 1,000 fitness trainers at this point, and I see the same patterns on repeat. And it's so easy to fix and implement these strategies I'm going to talk about when you know how. So make sure you have a pen and paper handy, take notes, and make sure you write down the points of this to re-listen through, because there's going to be a lot of homework for you to implement that can help you scale for free. Now, the first thing you have to think about, which we're going to talk about in here, is an identity shift. That is the big thing that's going to take you from where you are now to where you want to be. If you're trying to hustle your way to growing your business, there are only so many hours in the day. There's only so many things you can do. And if you're also looking to do that, you're also not using leverage. Now, leverage is the most powerful thing you should be looking to do in your business, in your finances, and in the whole of your life. If you want to be successful and you want to have impact and you also want to have income. Now, what that essentially looks like is, what repeatable systems are you doing every single day that you can replace with AI, B, maybe a human being, or C, do you even actually need to do this anymore, and what problem does this solve? Because I see this a lot, even like a coach I spoke to today from Australia. They work with Gen Pop clients and they're getting their clients to fill out some like lengthy spreadsheet every time they check in. It's like, dude, your clients don't actually want that. If you want executive men and you want to work with them, you want to simplify the process as much as possible. I actually work with a coach now, Alex Kickel, and he's phenomenally good. And all I have to do, I just have to answer like 10 questions on an email and send in check-in photos. It's awesome. It takes me like 5-10 minutes to check in. Previously, I was working with another coach who was also amazing, but initially he had me doing like a lengthy spreadsheet I had to use to like check in that was almost giving me stress and anxiety because it took me like an hour to fill the thing in. And this is where you have to understand your market and understand like, what problem does this actually solve? And most people hit a ceiling in their business around 10K a month because they basically got to where they are right now and hustle, which is great. But for you to get to the next level above that, you're going to have to change in terms of what you do and also how you think. Now, within this trap of a 10K a month, I also see this. You get addicted to delivery. You want to coach clients all day long. All you want to do is coach people, and that's great. However, let me explain this. I spoke at the beginning of the podcast in terms of the importance of leverage. If you're coaching someone one-to-one, once you've spent that 10-15 minutes coaching that client, that's not going to help you in the future. That's not going to compound for you. And that's essentially time you've essentially lost. You're essentially selling your time for money at that point, which is why it's very valuable, if you can do, to then focus on actually building a team to then be able to start to do some of the fulfillment for you. And this is actually when you go from actually having a job to a business. And the reality is, a lot of people call themselves the CEO of their fitness business. And you're not the CEO, you're the chief everything officer. You are doing everything. You're doing the check-in, sales calls, content, editing, all this stuff. The reality is, you need to start to delegate stuff off. And one of the first things I'm doing, quite frankly, I think this is a massive joke, I'm going to bring this up, is I remember I saw a guy recently who I know who's a business coach, apostrophes around that. And he was bragging on his Instagram how he was editing his own videos. I was like, dude, if you're a business coach and you make decent money, why are you editing your own videos? You should actually hire an editor to do that for you. And one of the things we specialize in at 7-Figure Scaling Systems is building world-class teams. We have a world-class team, and helping our clients build a world-class team, because that's actually when you have a business that works for you and not a job for yourself that you have created. And this is why most coaches create themselves a prison where they're constantly worried about leads coming in. They're constantly like doing check-ins all day long. And if they want to go on holiday for a week and then they can't take sales calls, their business collapses. And the reality is, this is why you're on like an anxiety hamster treadmill. And I've seen this happen so many times. And this is why people can't stay consistent with their business and continually grow, because they're not actually building with sustainable systems, which comes down to AI, people, processes. And when you put these in place, it gets very easy to grow. The next thing within this is, if you look at why specifically 10K a month, why people getting stuck there. Now, if you think about what's probably giving you the drive to go and make 10K a month, I want you to think about this right now. What was the thing that made you want to get to first 5K a month, 10K a month? Maybe it was to be able to quit your full-time job. Maybe it was to have the freedom to travel. Maybe it was you wanted to move into a nicer apartment. The reality is, the reason you haven't gone to 20 to 30K a month, when you actually like pull everything back, is you do not have anything driving you hard enough to go to the next level. And this is where you have to sit down, and I would do this after listening to this. What are the 3 to 5 things that got you to the position you are right now, that have driven you to be there? What are the 3 to 5 things you can do that are going to drive you to then get to 30K a month? Visualize what your life would look like at that point. Because the reason most people get stuck around this income level is because they get comfortable. A lot of people think they're Billy Big Balls and they make 10K a month. The reality is you have to understand that that's like a day's paycheck for a lot of people. There are people who earn that like in a minute. And this is the reality, that the difference between you having a small business or a very small business making 10K a month and a business that makes 100K a month is actually ironic, because most people have this backwards, and people will tell you a lie that if you have a small business, it's actually easier than having a big business. But let me break this down for you. If you have a business that makes 10K a month, are you probably a one-man band and you're doing everything yourself? Yes. If you have a business that makes 100K a month, do you have a team who do 80% of the heavy lifting for you? Yes. Can you go on holiday and the whole thing functions without you? Yes. So which is the real prison that you have, is having a business making less than 10K a month. So think about this right now and break down what the drivers are for you that are going to get you to the next level. And within those drivers, the third thing I'm going to bring up is why people get stuck, is they are emotionally attached to being the product in their business. And I had this. I remember in 2019, I was coaching over 200 clients myself. It was insane. And through my sheer genius, I thought it was the best thing to do to get everyone to check in on a Friday. And what would happen is the check-ins would come in so fast, I couldn't even reply to them. So this would end up dragging on for over like 3 days. My theory at the time of why this was a good idea is if I spend 1 day on fulfillment, I could spend 6 days on marketing and make more money. Or I could do what I'm about to tell you right now. It's just hire a coach and build a team. Because then what I did is I actually just hired my first coach, and I realized I just signed this person up and I don't have to do anything. Well, this is easy. And then the next step after this, when I complete the entire game and actually had the whole system and ecosystem working, from call to close to coach client, I'm not involved. That's when you actually have a business. And that's a goal. And that's when you have freedom and you have the ability to do that. And we've helped over 18 coaches break $100,000 a month in the last 12 months. To date, I've helped over 300 coaches break over 25K a month. So you have the ability to do this. It's just whether you have the drivers and the drive to go and do that. But you also have to remove yourself and your own identity of being the product. And it's also why I see, and I've spoken to a lot of fitness influencers who are broke and they're focusing on being famous rather than being rich. They have great engagement, but they don't make any money. They don't actually run a business. And people actually from the outside often will look up to these people and try and model what they're doing from a content perspective and a business perspective. And that's why I get very frustrated in the industry, because it's a little bit like the blind leading the blind. Like, people think their audience is the bottleneck, but the reality is your identity is. You need to shift that, and you need to shift your identity at different stages as your business grows. And you actually need to think like a business owner, not a business operator, and definitely not like a coach. You need to be passionate about fitness, and you need to know how to get world-class results and how to run a world-class coaching team. But ultimately, if you really want to scale the business up, you want to start to pull yourself out of fulfillment and remove the emotional attachment to you as the product. And lastly, number 5 is your pricing is completely wrong. And you don't have a back-end offer, you don't have upsells, you don't have multiple different aspects to your program. A big mistake a lot of people make is they're selling, and I'm going to give you an example of what I did with this. When I first started my fitness business, I was selling, I use the word business very loosely at this point, I was selling £40 a month PDF workouts made on Word via email, and actually via a Wix site. And that wasn't a sustainable business because it took me about 45 minutes to update one manually every single week. I look now with AI and it's crazy, you could do the whole thing kind of automatically. I then scaled loosely to maybe doing like, I think £150 for 12-week programs, which seemed like a lot of money at the time. And then I remember I sold my first program for £500 for 8 weeks, and I thought I'd invented fire. The reality for you to have a successful business, it's not about how many clients you have, it's about how much money you can make to get to the lifestyle you want. So ultimately you need to break this down in terms of like, what's the sweet spot for you in terms of pricing, who your audience is and who you're looking to target. Now, if you are listening to this and you're not tracking these numbers, please track them, but you should know what your sales closing rate is. So if your closing rate is below 60%, then you need to work on your sales and maybe your pricing is strong, but I probably doubt it if you're watching this. If your closing rate is above 60, 70 or 80%, you need to increase your prices. because the more you charge, the more money you make and the more profit you make. And the higher the price point, also the more profitable it is for you to bring team members in to start to scale the business. The second thing you also want to be looking at, which most people don't look at the beginning, is also retention and churn. How long can you keep clients? How many referrals can you get off them? And the referrals is the magical game. Because if you do a great job with a client, you can use one client to recommend another one and another one. And if you can get one client to recommend two people and you can do that consistently, your business will grow organically for free. And this is how simple it is. And the reason most coaches stay stuck at that 10K a month level is due to comfort and fear. They're afraid to invest into themselves. They're afraid to invest in the business because you're getting a little bit of money, a little bit of success, and you want to hoard it. Money isn't to be hoarded. Money is fuel, money is energy. And when you utilize that and put that to use in your business, whether it's to buy traffic in the form of ads, whether it's to use videographers, or whether it's to get business advice, guess what? You move forwards. And if you're not doing this right now, your competitors are, and you will get left behind. And this is where people need to actually reframe the whole relationship they have with money. And this is a big thing that holds a lot of people back, because you have to understand the more you learn, the more you earn, which is why I've been obsessed about learning ever since I started my own business, because I realized the importance of information. If you have the right information and you have the drive to actually implement it, you'll be phenomenally successful. And this is exactly why I'm actually flying to Vegas this weekend to spend the day with Axel Amazing's team to go through my business for a 44-hour round trip for one day. And yet I have some events I do here in Dubai for our clients, which are free, and people can't even be bothered to come to them. And that's the difference, is how committed are you? And the way you can tell how committed someone is you look at three things. One, look at their calendar, what they're spending their time on. Two, look at their bank statements, where are they spending their money? And then three, look at their YouTube watch history. Are they watching cat videos, or are they trying to learn things? And if you take the key instruments of what I've taught in this video and you actually change or rewire your thinking, you will scale your business. And if you want help actually to do this, drop me a message on Instagram. Let me know, listen to the podcast. I'll personally send you a voice note back. If you took value from this, make sure you share it, leave a review, and we'll see you next episode, which is on screen right now.